Recording in progress.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And Mr. Matthews, I do not want to have to ask you to not to talk, because I know that you've had to ask me many times. So we're going to get right into the meeting this afternoon. I'd like to just say that when you're talking, approach the mic, state your name and your reason for being here, and we'll get going. So thank you everyone for coming. I got a resolution moved by Councillor Putnam, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of Town of Minto resume into open council. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. Resolution moved by Councillor Potnovitz, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of Town of Minto receives the council session reports regarding personal information about identifiable individual and education or training of members, council for information purposes. Further, that the council approves the confidential direction to staff. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. Come on in, folks. I'll just give you a minute to find a seat. Okay, thank you. So we've got a resolution moved by Councillor Elliott, seconded by Councillor Zimmerman, that the minutes of the Town of Minto, September 17th, 2024, closed session meeting, and January 21st, 2025, regular council meeting be approved. All in favor of that motion? It's carried. Thank you. We have a resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, seconded by Councillor Elliott, that the Town of Minto Council convenes into Committee of the Whole. All in favor of the motion? Carried. Thank you. So we have no public meetings today, but we do have two delegations. So I'd like to ask Helen Edwards, Mapleton Senior Center for Excellence, annual request for funding. Welcome, Helen. So you know how to turn that microphone on? Welcome to our Minto Council meeting. So
just in the nick of time. I apologize. Yes, so my name is Helen Edwards, and I'm here with my delegation to speak to our request for funding in the amount of $10,000, and put together a little bit of a presentation for you, but I want to make sure I leave time for my consumers and residents of the town of Minto to speak, and I appreciate them being here with me. So, so the purpose of the presentation is to update council on the activities of the program for 2024 and request the funding, and also for participants to provide feedback. So we have 3 dining programs that we run in the town of Minto. Surveys that we have distributed say that they all 100% of people feel that the dining programs keep them connected, and we know that socialization is one of the keys to healthy aging, and research shows that socialization plays an important role in improved memory, mood, and healthy behaviors. The dining programs also provide an opportunity for newcomers to build connections and for existing friendships to be strengthened or reestablished. We also have a wide variety of speakers on different topics. We have a really strong relationship with the Minto Mapleton Family Health Team. An example of an upcoming presentation would be Jenny Boltz, who's the chronic disease management, who is going to answer the question, Dr. Google, I have what? And so it's an opportunity to speak one-on-one with our healthcare professionals. I identified these 2 coffee groups, even though they're not in the town of Minto, as a way to identify how our program identifies gaps and then fills them. So we don't want to duplicate service, but also in both of these coffee hours, we have members, residents of the town of Minto who come and sort of reestablish their friendships with people in different communities. So very well attended. Um, as you know, we use our $10,000 to support our ACE program coordinator, who stands for Active, Connected, and Engaged. And she is really so weaved throughout our program that it's hard to say just to identify the 3 things or the 10 things that she does. She's just part of the team, but she is our social media person. And we use our social media page to show all kinds of different information, whether it's from the Guelph Wellington OHT or to promote our programs or other programs like the Town of Minto Calendar, or our sponsor, Christmas Stocking for a Senior in 2024, which was the largest yet, with 77 seniors sponsored and by residents, and 8 stockings taken to our local hospitals in case anyone in there was spending Christmas over the alone at the hospital. And we also use it to bring education around key activities. So we've done a lot of work on education around ageism, and that sort of brings me to our next page, which was our Aging Well Canada, Aging Well calendar. And it's kind of amusing because this was as a result of a New Horizons grant. And I don't know how many people have seen it, but I went to take a copy to my dad in Guelph. And I said, "Oh, Dad, like I have this calendar for you." And he said, "Oh, I picked it up at the library." And we do have it featuring not 5 of the 12 months are people from North Wellington. And it's just debunking the myths around aging. So what we say is aging is like, we don't try and like approach it with rose-colored glasses. It is a tough time, and you go through things as you get older. But what we challenged people to think about is, when in your life isn't it challenging? Like when you raise teenagers, it's challenging. We go through relationships breakups when we're younger. It's very challenging. So yes, aging is tough and it's a chapter with challenges, but that's part of being alive. So we don't want to say that getting older is like easy peasy lemon squeezy, but what we do want to say is like to try to approach it as another chapter of your life filled with different challenges. So the next page, we have Linda Campbell, who is a resident of Harriston, and this is in her beautiful garden. And Linda has, I'm sure you're aware, has donated blood over 150 times. And I asked Linda to be here today and she agreed, but then she emailed me and said, "Oh, I'm sorry, I can't come because I have to donate blood that afternoon." So I tried to, I didn't take it personally. I just know how dedicated she is to it. But that can be a myth that people who are older can't donate blood. And it's not true. And since this calendar was established, we've had a few people come to us and say, "I used to donate blood and I stopped donating blood." And when I saw the calendar, I called the Canadian Blood Services and they were able to, even with certain medications, you're still able to donate blood. So the idea behind the calendar was to debunk some of the myths around growing older. And there are lots of them. We have a gentleman featured, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. We have a gentleman featured over COVID that learned to speak Russian. Now, he does say he could only speak Russian with probably a 4 or 5-year-old, but that's a lot better than I can do. So, so each of the months features a myth around aging and then a person who debunks that myth. So that was through New Horizons for seniors. There was a $25,000 grant that we were successful in applying for. We have a lady who lives in Moorfield, And she distributed the calendar in her church, and now she's referred to as Miss July. So in October, we had our seniors wellness fair at the arena. And we had just over 200 seniors come, and we had a wide variety of social and health organizations represented, as seen in the picture here. The staff were amazing. And I actually had the privilege of giving my first presentation in a locker room. So we had more people keep coming in, and the space that we had was not appropriate. So the person from the arena got us all set up in the locker room, and the sound, amazing, just amazing. So, but it was a really successful event, and we're hoping to do that again this year. And then we had our seniors community grant, where we've been putting on wisdom series workshops. We've done a series of 18 workshops across North Wellington. These are a couple that we held in both Clifford and in Palmerston. And the chair yoga in Palmerston actually resulted in a class taking place. So now there is Wednesdays at St. James United. There's a chair yoga class that people can participate in. And then we have our Zoom. So our Zoom sessions continue to be well attended. Last week, we broke our Zoom session record. We had 66 people attending a session entitled Growing Up Mennonite, there was a lot of interest. And the Zoom family is like a family in itself. And there are many people who participate every single time. And then there are people who participate when the topic is of interest. We engage lots of local residents as speakers, and it's just something that started as a result of COVID, and it still is in demand. And so that is part of Glennis's role as well. So we just have a selection of topics that we had in recent months. And the topics are as varied as our Zoom guests themselves. So we get lots of interest in history and decluttering, and Pets for Alice spoke about a program where seniors adopt seniors' pets. And so that was really well attended too. And then our newsletter. So we have 200 copies by Canada Post, and 552 copies go out via email. And on top of that, we distribute 75 to 100 copies at our local activities. And really, the content is driven by our consumer. There are stories from seniors and recipes and some health information, and then promotion of events. So just around the Heart and Soul, one time someone told me that getting the Heart and Soul newsletter in the mail was the equivalent to them of getting their favorite magazine subscription, or perhaps a letter from a friend. Like, it's really, people really look forward to it. And it's hard to think of a better compliment than that. And I think and then I say, thank you. I feel like I was talking very quickly.
You did very well, Helen. Thank you very much for that presentation.
Okay, so I'm going to ask Jim to come up, Jim Measures, who comes to our Clifford dining programs and also contributes a lot of stories to provide some feedback.
Those who don't know me, I'm Jim Measures. I live in Clifford, and I often shop in Hanover. On one occasion recently, I was parking on the main street of Hanover, and with my problem, I was going around my car to get up the curb, and a lady came running over. She was about my age, Can I help you? Can I help you? I says, I'm okay. Please let me help you at least, but give me somebody to talk to. This is the lady who lives alone and she goes out once in a while just to find somebody to talk to. And I think this is simply some of the example of what some of the seniors in our community are facing. They're just plain lonely. And I think that the things that Helen organizes and does, it is a great relief for some of these older folk, like the lady who wanted to help me in order to be able to have someone to talk to. But I just think that Helen is filling a void in society where people who are in need, in this case, seniors have a need that's not visible. You can see a visible need when I have a problem in my leg and I'm using this, but the fact is that many of them who are physically fit still have a need, and I think Helen's reaching out to that. I thank you.
Thank you, Jim. And who's next? Mr. Matthews? Don Matthews.
You can call it Dawn.
Okay, Don. How times have changed.
Couldn't do that.
Yes, they have, and I'm pleased to support everything that Helen has said and Jim has said. I didn't get involved with the Zoom at the start, just COVID. Someone said, we have these sessions. I said, oh, well, let me know. And so they sent me the link and et cetera, and everything else followed. And I hadn't been on very long. And all of a sudden I get a request from Glynis because I got reconnected with some former parents of students that I had taught. I've been around here, this area, for a few years. And so they said, can you do a presentation called The Day in Your Life? Well, it turned out to be my life story, which was kind of a good thing for me. It forced me to look back into my past and how I actually came here in Minto 50 plus years ago. And so, but then I went on to the dining programs, and they are fabulous. We're having Jenny Boltz from the Palmerston Clinic. I've had need to use her services as well. And also it's a very good time of socializing, which our seniors need. So I just want to reaffirm everything that Helen and Glynis are doing, and Joanna in the office as well. She sends out the notices, and I guess she sends out the newsletters as well. And they are a treat. And even though you may not be in the senior category yet, you might like to access that newsletter. And so thank you very much for giving us your time.
Thank you, Don. So we do see that newsletter. Helen sends it to Annaline, and Annaline's makes sure all the council does receive it.
We actually have it on our agenda
Okay.
meeting.
Yes, we do.
And certainly, we certainly enjoy reading it. A lot of really good information in there, and I know that our community, our senior community, our community really appreciates. Likely more than you'll ever know, Helen, you and your group. So, Gord, do we have this in the budget?
Yes, Your Worship, we do have that in our budget, and it was supported by everyone unanimously.
Thank you very much. So any questions for any of these folks? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Not a question, but a comment. Helen, you know I'm a huge fan of the work that your group does. You did an admirable turnaround in COVID and brought out the newsletter and some Zoom activities, which is absolutely marvelous. Isolation is a dreadful, dreadful infliction on our seniors, not just our seniors. I think there's many other lonely people out there, but we certainly need to connect them, and you do a marvelous job of doing that. Thank you for what you do.
So you might say it's Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Is that what you said? But thank you very much for coming, and we appreciate all the work that you do. So if there's no other questions or anything, then we'll move along to our next delegation. And you folks can stay as long as you want. If you want to stay and partake in the rest of the council meeting, that's fine. If not, you know where the door is. You dropped something
you
there,
dropped
Helen.
something.
It was a 50. Thank
Good
you, Tanya Robertson. So this is an introduction presentation to do with the mayor's charity golf tournament. So Tanya, thank you for coming.
Yeah, good afternoon, Mayor Turton, Deputy Mayor Anderson, and members of council. It's hard to believe that plans are already underway for our 15th annual Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament. This year, it will be held on Thursday, August 7th at Pike Lake Golf and Country Club. Over the past 14 years, the Mayor's Charity Golf Tournament has raised over $153,000 and has assisted 49 local groups or organizations with their financial expenses or events that are held in our community. Last year, we had 3 organizations benefit from the proceeds. Previous funds have been used to beautify our downtowns, purchase new sports equipment, fundraise for many community reunions and events, and there have been many projects benefiting the youth in Minto. We are now happy to accept applications to receive this year's tournament proceeds from nonprofit organizations that fit into one of the following 3 categories: community betterment, service clubs, or sports clubs. Applications will be accepted until Monday, March the 10th, and will be available on our website or can be picked up at the office. Last year, we had a full tournament, and we are hoping that this year's event will be another great success. We look forward to supporting and assisting our local groups again this year.
Thank you, Tanya. Is there questions? Thank you very much. I'd just like to say that Tanya and her group do a great job of organizing this event. 15 years. It's amazing how much better it gets every year. So, and I'm not saying anything about the past. It's always been great, right from day one.
Yep.
You guys have done a great job. So thank you. And everything now is open. You can put your application in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is public question period. The mayor, as chair of the meeting, has a duty to preserve order and maintain decorum throughout the meeting. Although council strives to hear and be responsive to residents concerned, in order to preserve order, maintain decorum, and comply with the town's procedural bylaw, I wish to caution any participants in question period that number 1, questions that use discourteous language will not be permitted. Number 2, questions that seek policies or bylaws outside of the town's jurisdiction, including policies or bylaws that might violate human rights legislation, will not be permitted. Number 3, anything that constitutes speeches or statements not in the formal question will not be permitted. Number 4, repeat questions will not be permitted, including the repetition of questions from prior meetings. And number 5, all persons shall be limited to no more than 2 questions. So question period is open. Any thoughts or ideas, questions today? Who's first? Go ahead, Roger. How are you doing today?
Great. Well, my question is,
Roger, state your name, please.
Roger Nachuk.
Thank you.
My question is, last year we used to have 12 evenings, 7 o'clock evenings for council meetings. And you guys want to cut it down to 0. And then it finally wound up being you're giving us 5 a year, although we should have more. Now, why is it that you're taking another one away from us and not having a 7 o'clock meeting this February the 18th?
CAO, Mr. Fertney, can you answer that, please?
Certainly, through you, Mr. Mayor. It's simply we didn't have enough content to warrant a meeting on February the 18th. So we'll resume with more content going forward as per the schedule.
So my next question is then, if I'm only allowed two, being we're getting ripped off a 7 o'clock meeting, which means it's only gonna bring us down 4 for the year, which is below what you guys said, that we would have 5 in the year. So to uphold the truth of what you said and to be honest with the public, I think that the March 18th meeting should be 7 o'clock instead of 3 to make up for one we're missing. Because we should have the right to have meetings at nighttime and not be missing out on any.
All right, thank you very much for that question, and we'll take it under advisement. I
Thank
don't,
you.
okay. Any other questions? Good afternoon. Welcome, Stefan.
Council, Mayor, my name is Stefan Pommelin. I'm from Minto. I have first remark from this the people that were doing talk about old people.
So is there a question, Stefan?
There will be a question.
Okay.
Like, the ready to growing old is mandatory. But it's very important that growing up is an option. To kind of understand and that's what that option. So now my question is, I would like to know, because it looks like homelessness is quite rampant, as you stated, every meeting I've been to since I joined the committee, I see this is quite a problem. So I would like to know, there was I read a report from the federal government as of old stats, it came up for 2025. And I hope I read this right. There is actually a lot of money available to the federal government. Then actually only about a day or two ago, I stumbled on by some help onto the report from the Wellington County of how many people are homeless in Wellington County and actually how much money is spent, what's available. So because of thanks to change, he said in the report, we need to know how many people are homeless and what money or whatever is available for. So are you aware of those? That's my point. Are you aware of those? Especially from the federal government. I was quite surprised actually how much money is spent. Are you aware of that?
Absolutely.
I think there is money available. Are you aware?
Absolutely, Stefan. I'm part of the county as a county councillor, and there's 2025 in the homeless budget. There's more money being spent than ever before, and I know that our Minto is feeling the effects as well. So we're working towards that.
Oh, there is one more. I hope I make this right. Like, do we really understand homelessness? I looked at how much money is spent, especially from the federal government, since Biden corrected, because that's all they said in the things like all that well.
I'm sorry.
Do you want to get to the question?
If I, sorry, if I can just, I just am getting information that your microphone may be muted. Can we just have that checked, please?
It's green now.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
So do you
I,
want to
I
start?
thought,
You
I
wanna start
thought I,
again, then, Stefan? No?
I thought I would not pick it up. But I figured I speak very loud. I have a very loud voice, I think, so. But anyway, going back to it, if I understood what I've read correctly, there is around per homeless people, when you do the math quickly of how much was spent from just the federal government, doesn't include what the county does, there is basically $40,000 per homeless people spent in 1 year. And I want to state this, I shouldn't brag about this or not, My income is less than $40,000 a year. So why do we still have a problem?
So one thing for sure, one thing that we found out through the county, this county, and I'm sure other counties are the same. Homeless people, if they want help, there's help available. If they don't want help, then, you know, it's really hard to force somebody to want help. So that's all I'm gonna say, staff.
And I agree with you
Yeah.
because I'm a farmer.
Mhm.
You can take a cow, you can take a horse and lead him to water. You cannot make him drink.
All right, thank you very much. Other questions?
Good evening. Good evening, Mayor Turton. Am I on?
Yeah, I think so.
I'm
Name, please.
Laura Park
Thank you.
and I live in Harriston. I've lived in Clifford and Palmerston also. So I kind of know the community really well. And I was driving around and you wouldn't believe the potholes that are in our roads. And they are large potholes. And I was wondering if there's any way that you can fix them. I know it's winter time and it's hard to put blacktop down. If you could put gravel in, but it's really some bad potholes and we can damage our cars and that's very expensive to the people that drive these roads. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. You want to answer that? DAO Fertney?
Through you, Mayor Turton. Potholes, of course, are something that we deal with on an annual basis, and this winter in particular has been a lot worse than we've seen the last couple. But we will certainly go to maintain and look after those potholes as we are able to. Right now, our priority has been, of course, to move snow off of the roads, but come spring, we do have a program to maintain those potholes. Thank you for the question. We appreciate it.
Thank you for all the questions. Moving right along. We have a recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that council receive the correspondence as information. There's 246 items on the correspondence. The letter from Township Puslinch, got 2 conservation authorities. Is there any one item that we need to pull and discuss, have a report? Go ahead.
Sorry, through you, Mayor Turton, I actually just received an email 1 minute ago stating that the Heart and Soul of Wellington that is on there is a correction that on page 5, the activity spotlights Wisdom Series Workshop, ABC of Thinking with Rachel, says March 11th, and it should read March 18th. So I just wanted to make that correction if I can.
Okay, so if you were speaking into the microphone, Annaline, everybody will hear that. So thank you for that correction. I'm going to call the question on the correspondence. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. We got some committee reports. I'm going to pass the chair over to Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Mayor Turton. We're going to have a Joint Fire Service Advisory Committee minutes read to us or presented by Chief Harrell. Is he still there?
I'm still here.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Yes, we recently had a Joint Fire Services Committee meeting. The meetings are going very well. This one was to talk mostly about firefighter wages and where we see that going for the 3 fire departments. So we had a great discussion on that. And then we also brought the committee up to date on some of the wellness programming that we're going to look to introduce and where we see that in the future, as well as we just had a brief discussion on budgets and like that we always talk about and what the future looks for them. So it was a very productive meeting.
Thank you for that report. I'll read the recommendation that the council of the town of Minto receives the Joint Fire Services Advisory Committee minutes of January 9th, 2025 as information and approves any recommendations contained therein. Are there any questions?
Just through you, if I may, Chair Anderson, the mover is Councillor Elliott and the seconder
Oh,
is
sorry,
Councillor
beg your
Zimmerman.
pardon. Thank
No,
you.
that's all
Any questions for Chris? Seeing none, I'll ask the question. All those in favor? And that is passed. And I will pass the chair on to back to Deputy, or back to Mayor Turton.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Anderson. So we have, next up is, the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee minutes of, January 16th, 25, and our treasurer, Gord Duff's going to present this report.
Great. Thank you, Mayor Turton. As you know, our economic officer, Belinda, is at I'm sure, extremely interesting EDCO conference this week. They'll have a lot to talk about. So, yeah, our DEI committee met. As you can tell, we have speaking of diversity, we have a very diverse representation of committee members, and I don't think we're ever going to get a meeting that the time suits everyone. So we go with who we've got. I guess the highlights are we allocated the budget, again, trying to reflect the strategic plan priorities, and it's only $4,000. So anyway, we have lots of projects, and a lot of them take time, not money. Our Black Heritage Month event coming up on the 15th is almost sold out. So if you want to go, get a ticket now. The week after, we have the coldest night of the year, first time in Minto. Again, we've many teams, and we would still take other walkers or donations, and it's on the CNOY website, led by the Community Resource Center in North Wellington. We have guest speakers lined up for April and May, highlighting accessibility and youth. And the usual Pride events are going forward in June and throughout the year. So those are kind of the highlights, but take any questions.
Thank you. We have a recommendation moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, second by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto receives the Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Committee minutes of January 16th, 2025 for information purposes and approves any recommendations contained therein. Questions for our treasurer? Certainly do have a very diverse group of individuals on that committee, and it's great to see the number of new additions. With the ability to zoom in, it's quite a committee. So no questions. I'm going to call the question. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Then we have the Culture Roundtable minutes, and we'll ask Treasurer Duff to present that report.
Great. Thanks, Mayor Turton. So we're pleased to welcome a couple of new members. Bob McEachran is joining as a representative of the Palmerston Railway Heritage Museum, and our own Greg Mallett, facilities coordinator for the town of Minto. So many things are taking place at a town facility, so it's good to have him involved right from the start. Again, some busy people on there, especially in the Theater Guild. So Anne of Green Gables is finished. We did our Culture Days recap. We just met the week before Christmas. Attendance was very good for most of the events. Again, we tried to have fewer and events that we're not competing with ourselves, but some went very well. Others, maybe they've run their course, but anyway, another successful year, and it's going to be 3 weeks again in 2025. We approved $1,000 going to the Palmerston 2025 Homecoming, and that's from our event fund. And we've made plans with another joint cultural roundtable symposium with our friends in Wellington North and Hanover. That will take place May 30th. And the very successful Culture Bus is also returning for October the 4th. Again, we spent most of the meeting allocating our budget to implement the strategic plan priorities. Again, we've all been through the focus groups and that, so there's more priorities than there is either time or money, but don't have to do it all in 25. And I think we've got a good allocation of human and financial resources for that. So, and
We have a recommendation moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Potnovitz, that Council Town Minto receives cultural roundtable minutes of January 27th, 2025 for information purposes and approve any recommendations contained therein. Questions for our treasurer? Cultural bus score, did you say the 25th of October? Get that on.
4th of October.
4th of October?
Yes.
Get that on your calendar because this year at 2024, it was a great day. So all in favor of the cultural roundtable minutes? That's carried. Thank you. We're moving right along here to staff reports. And I think you're still up, Gord, sorry. This is the ECDF 2025-001. License extension and amending agreement with Ministry of Infrastructure. Treasurer Duff, please
Yes.
report.
So as you know, Lancet is moving just after the end of this week, and we're going to the old post. One of our regular tenants that we've had for a long time, they come maybe half day a week or so, depending on need. And they've been coming to, of course, our Lancet space at Laura Street. And they'll be moving with us to go to the old post. And same timing, same financial arrangements and everything. So we look forward to having them move with us.
Okay, thank you. So the recommendation is moved by Councillor Potnovitz, second by Deputy Mayor Anderson, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report ECDF 2025-001 license agreement with Minister of Infrastructure, prepared by the Director of Economic and Community Development for information purposes. And further, that the Council of Town of Minto authorizes the Mayor and the Director of Legislative Services clerk to sign the agreement. Questions? All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Pass the chair to Councillor Gunson.
Thank you, Mayor. So today we've got one report, Municipal Drain 3 request for improvement, and Ryan is here to present the report.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. Yeah, so town staff has received a request under Section 78 of the Drainage Act for an improvement to municipal drain number 3. We've actually received 2 requests under that act for improvements. Both property owners are wanting to add a culvert to the drain. It's an open ditch drain. This requires an engineer to size it and adjust the assessments. The last time this was completed on this drain was back in 1981, where a similar process happened and they added some culverts and deepened a part of the drain. So this improvement project will we will be opening it up to the other landowners if they want to add or incorporate their existing culverts into the municipal drain. There's also some maintenance work scheduled for this drain. We've received some requests to do, so this will run concurrently with the maintenance projects that we're doing. That actually is a benefit to the improvement of the drain to have the maintenance done, as over the years, multiple trees and things have grown around the drain that need to be taken care of prior to the engineer being able to go out to do their surveying work. So it's actually fortunate that this timing is aligned. Yeah, so and any of the costs associated with the project will be assessed out to landowners, utilities, and road authorities in accordance to the Drainage Act. And if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thanks, Ryan. I'll read the recommendation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Anderson, second by Councillor Elliott, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report PW 2025-004 Municipal Drain 3 Improvement Request, prepared by the Drainage Superintendent for information purposes. And further, that the council approves the appointment of Streamline Engineering to represent the town's interest in this regard. Any questions for Ryan?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Streamline Engineering,
Correct.
we've worked with that group before.
Yeah, they are currently working fairly close to this drain on another improvement project, which is part of the reason why we're appointing them for this one. They're already in the area, so makes sense.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, I'll call for the vote. All in favor? Thank you. I'm going to pass the chair to Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Thank you, Councillor Gunson. And I'm assuming Chris is still there to present the Fire 2025-002 Community Emergency Preparedness Grant report.
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. Yeah, I took this report. I gave the other one to Khalees because this is a good news story one, so I like this one. We applied last year for a grant. Actually, we applied 2 years ago for the grant. We were unsuccessful, and we applied again late last year. We received notification that we were successful in this grant. It is to supply and install, hook up a new fixed generator site for the Palmerston Community Center. Being our primary evacuation site because it's not in the floodplain and it has all of the amenities with the kitchens and all that kind of stuff that we need if we ever have to host a mass evacuation. It was definitely a thing that we were missing in our whole emergency measures plan. So this is great news. And with the acceptance of the money from council, we'll sign the agreement and we will work towards getting it installed.
Thank you very much, and it is indeed good news. That's a marvelous thing to have happen. I'll read the recommendation moved by Councillor Dirksen, seconded by Councillor Podnowicz, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report Fire 2025-002 Community Emergency Preparedness Grant prepared by the Director of Fire Services / Fire Chief for information purposes, and further that the Council of Town of Minto authorizes the Mayor and Treasurer to sign the related transfer payment agreement in order to receive the funds. Any questions for Chief Harrow? Seeing none, I'll ask for the vote. Everyone in favor? And that's passed. So I'm going to move on to Khalees then to present the next. There she is, all ready to go. The next report is the year in review, and we'll look forward to hearing what you have to say.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Anderson. Are you going to change the slides? Okay. So I'm just here to present some statistics about 2024 in terms of fire and emergency services. And basically we just started with our mission and vision statements moving forward. So I'm not going to read it, but it's there for you to read. And in terms of the year in review, we're just going to go over some call statistics, our division statistics, major projects that were completed, and what we're hoping to accomplish in the new year moving forward. So, some statistics for department call volumes and top fire cause. So I thought since we're working together as 3 departments, it would be of value to provide context as to what the other 2 departments are up to as well in comparison to Minto. So I have done a joint presentation on statistics across all 3 municipalities because they are very similar, even though we all have our separate fire services, all of our top fire cause and statistics pretty much break down the same. So together, that's our call breakdown, noting that the bulk of our incidents are MVCs and medical calls. And across the 3 services, wood burning stove is the top fire cause, having 4 incidents related to that, and small cooking appliances related to 2. So data is not super definitive, but those were top cause. In terms of Mapleton, Mapleton does 162 incidents per year, and again, noting that top cause is wood burning stoves, chimney fires, small cooking appliances, and power lines. Also noting that majority of incidents are MVCs and medical calls. Fires make up about 7% of Mapleton. And I would just like to note that in terms of a response time for statistics, they do vary across 3 services. So in Mapleton, 82, there are mid-level, 82% of incidents are meeting the response time of 12 minutes with an effective crew of 4 personnel. So Mapleton is midline. And the projected call volumes over
The projection for call volumes is to increase moving forward, but this is the 4-year comparison for Mapleton. Moving forward into Minto, Minto completed a total of 255 incidents. Top causes in Minto were clothes dryer, lighters, an air fryer or small cooking appliance, mechanical, smoking, space heaters, and stoves. Again, the data is not definitive because those were all one incidence of in terms of cause. And Minto actually has the fastest time in terms of turnout. So 62% of our incidents are meeting the response time of 8 minutes with an effective crew of 4. So we are able to respond 62% of the time in under 8 minutes, which is a really great statistic to report on. And again, MVCs and medicals are our top 2 categories in terms of call. In terms of 4-year comparison, very similar to Mapleton, calls will be on the rise moving forward. Wellington North did a total of 437 incidents last year. So cumulatively, we did around 850 incidents as a management team. Top causes in Wellington North: stove, wood burning stove, and electrical. Again, biggest call volumes come from MVCs and medicals, and Wellington North has a response statistic. 66% of incidents are meeting the response time of 14 minutes with a response crew of 4. So the 4-year comparison is very similar again, with call volumes increasing. In terms of our divisions, our updates for training, so the fire department has many different divisions that are responsible for different things within the department. Our training division obviously operates all of our practices and courses and any other relevant training. So total training sessions across the board from our management team was 182. Mapleton did 50, Minto 74, Wellington North and 58. So we have department station training officers that are responsible for practices, and then we have a training officer that oversees training. The other training that was completed was we did a pump ops course. We did a lot of first responder, first aid and CPR. We had an electric vehicle and trained the trainer AutoX. We did a resilient minds course, and we took an effective command instructor course. So we had 5 people take this course, and I'm pretty excited about it because we're one of the first departments to adopt this new structure, which is launching this year in terms of command. So very exciting. So those are just pictures from our 3 station practices across the board. In terms of human resources, we did a lot of recruiting last year. In Mapleton in 2024, they added 3 new recruits, and we have 6 coming on board in 2025. Wellington North added 11 new recruits in 2024, and they have 9 new coming in 2025. And Minto added 7 new in 2024, and we did not recruit for 2025. So in terms of our recruitment for 2025, it actually starts in the fall of 2024, and then our recruits start January 1 of the next year. In terms of promotions, we promoted 2 new captains in Minto. We have 2 new training officers, 4 new captains, and 2 new district chiefs in Mapleton, and 3 new captains, 1 new district chief in Wellington North. On top of our division of training, we have other sort of committee meetings that happen. So we did 9 chief meetings, 11 officer meetings. Public education division met 3 times officially, 21 health and safety meetings, and then 4 training officer meetings. In fire prevention across the board, we did 80 inspections total. Mapleton housed 10 of those, Wellington North 30, and Minto 40. Pretty light on complaints, but we did 12 complaints in Mapleton, knock on wood, 13 in Wellington North, and 15 in Minto. In terms of equipment, the major purchasing projects for 2024 were SCBA. All 3 departments got new air packs and bottles and air fill stations with that. We also bought nozzles for frontline pumpers in Minto and Wellington North, and new hydrant bags with tools for Mapleton. And we did truck checks 52 times because we do them weekly. Our public education division hosted Safe Kids Day on May 31st, 2024. And at that time, it was just a partnership between Wellington North and Minto in terms of the planning for Safe Kids Day. So we had 600 students from across schools in Minto and Wellington North attend Palmerston Arena to learn about different safety organizations. We held lots of contests on our online presence, including coloring contests, bingo card contests, and photo contests. We did the Corey Connors PSA about smoke alarms in the spring with North Perth. We did 200 school students with kindergarten, grade 1, grade 2, grade 3 tours. We talked to the Boy Scouts in the Building Bridges Day program. In Wellington North, we had 240 school students for station tours. In Mapleton, we did 150 and then 50 homeschool students. We had Test Your Smoke Alarm Day, and we did a Find the Golden Smoke Alarm pizza partnership with our pizza businesses. We had Fire Prevention Week, where we did story time with a firefighter at all of the libraries. Plus, we had a photo contest that if you tested your smoke alarm and sent it to us, you won pizza for a year. We did the Seniors Wellness Fair. We did some fire safety extinguisher training at Owl's Nest, and we visited day camps in the summer in Minto. Very similar in Mapleton, same contests, Test Your Smoke Alarm Day, Fire Prevention Week, day camp visits. We did an Empower Her Day with all female firefighters or interested in firefighting. Wellington North, same idea. Community outreach, Test Your Smoke Alarm Day, Fire Prevention Week. And the communication side of things, those were the numbers that we reached across the board from a communication perspective, whether that be public education messages or incident advisories. So Minto, having the longest presence, has the highest numbers, but the other two are coming along. Same idea. And then this is some of the most popular content from Minto. So we see a lot of people really interested in what our families are doing and what our firefighters are doing in the community. In Mapleton, everyone was interested in the events that were upcoming. And in Wellington North, same idea, interested in different events, things that are happening. In 2024, the major projects that were completed, so we completed risk assessments for both Minto and Wellington North. Marco worked on developing a central inventory repository with all of the inventory across 3 fire departments to a central area so that we can keep track and cost out what we're using more accurately. Some organizational stability. We did some budget alignments and a major recruitment drive for 2 fire departments. And then we did some extremely boring policy alignment for all 3 departments. So moving forward in 2025, we're looking to complete the master fire plan document, 25-year truck plan document. We're hoping to launch 5 new wellness initiatives, including cancer prevention programming. And we're undertaking a new response protocol GIS project to gather all of the GIS data across the 3 departments and map out using a drive time analysis what the closest stations are to be able to work with Guelph to be able to dispatch more seamlessly. We're looking to align all of our standard operating guidelines across 3 departments. Again, that goes with policy alignment that has started. And we're hoping to launch our effective command assurance program. So that's kind of it. Any questions? Ron?
Councillor Elliott?
Sorry. Response time. Is that, how many people before the pumper leaves? Is that the response time? Is like a 4
Response
people?
time is dispatch time till they arrive on scene.
Okay.
So
So,
the first arriving unit.
wow, that's pretty good timing.
Yeah.
And how does that compare to the professional in the cities, their response time? Any idea?
No, I don't know.
It's good. It's quite,
I only focus on our stuff. I don't know. I have no idea.
it's quite amazing that you can get out and respond at that time. And when the truck leaves, do you have to have so many firefighters in the pumper?
We usually look for 4,
You won't leave it until you have 4 that are ready to go.
usually.
Or 4 will probably all arrive at the same time, obviously, with the,
Yeah, it depends which station, but yeah.
yeah, thanks.
Are there any other questions? Mayor Turton?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted the Safe Kids Day. Can you bring that picture back again, please? Just wondered who the guy with the hat on is at the back there. I've never seen him before. In the back left. You seen a new fireman? Yeah, I've got.
Oh.
Who is that guy? Who's that kid?
He's the star of the show. I have a question. If I could go back to the screen, what is a command assurance? One of the last things you talked about.
So effective command.
Command assurance.
So it's basically just performance management of our commanders. So the new effective command program has sort of a report card that we're going to give them based on some behavioral markers, and we're hoping to kind of make sure that everybody is following the same outline of how they would work through an incident in terms of command. So it's just making sure that everybody's kind of following all the same rules and has the same thinking when it comes to incidents. So it's kind of just bringing in a standard for command.
Excellent. I would just like to comment and thank you for the service that's provided by everybody in the department. We recognize that it's not an easy job being a firefighter and dropping everything, and we thank their families for tolerating that, because I'm sure it's not necessarily pleasant. Maybe you want them out of your hair every once in a while, but we do thank you for everything that you do, because it's essential for the communities and for the well-being of our communities. So, and I will move on to the recommendation.
Another question?
Oh, another question? Sorry.
Yeah,
Beg
sorry.
your pardon. That's okay.
I'm just wondering about the incidents. Like when you're talking about the top causes, I would have expected a larger number. So this would tell me, I think, that if there's, for instance, in Minto, so there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 things of 255 total incidents that were the top causes. So that kind of tells me there's 248 single things as well then?
Well, so top cause is just for fires. So if there's
Oh,
fires.
for fires, not
if there's,
for
right.
Oh,
yeah.
right, okay, gotcha.
So fires in terms, like, so if I think the percentage was, let's, for easy numbers, use 10%
Yeah, it
of
was-
255.
Yeah,
Then a lot of our cause is actually undetermined. We can't determine the cause
right.
based.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's just
That,
fires. Yeah.
yes, okay, that makes better sense. Okay, sorry, I was trying to do math. Thank you.
Yeah, top fire cause, yeah.
Any other questions? In that case, I will read the recommendation and ask for the vote. Recommendation moved by Councillor Dirksen and seconded by Councillor Podno. Oh, sorry, I did that one already. This one's moved by Councillor Gunson and seconded by Councillor Zimmerman. Council of the Town of Minto receives report fire 2025-003 regarding the 2024 year in review prepared by the Director of Fire Services / Fire Chief for information purposes. All those in favor of passing that report? And that's passed. And I'll turn the chair back to Mayor Turton, I believe.
Thank you. I'd just like to add my congratulations to the fire service of North Wellington. I mean, that was a great report. There's so much information on there and all the stats, and it's a good report for everybody that watches this YouTube to take heed to it. And if there's something that you can do in your home to make things safer in reference to fires, who won the pizza, or when's that drop? Was it? Okay. Thank you very much for that. Keep up the good work. Let the firefighters know as well that I'm sure you hear this quite often in all three municipalities. We certainly appreciate the work that you guys do. Echo Deputy Mayor Anderson's comments. Thank you. So we have a motion, a recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report CL 2025-004, the annual accessibility update prepared by the Deputy Clerk, Manager, People and Culture for information purposes. And I will ask Quinn Gurecki, Quinn, to give us this report. Thank you.
For a second there, I thought I was going to get out of doing it. So through you, Chair Turton, to members of council, each year we bring forward an update on our accessibility initiatives and the progress that's been made on our multi-year accessibility plan. The plan itself is updated in 2022 and is set to expire in 2027, so we'll need to begin the process of updating it again probably next year. Each year, the County of Wellington offers its member municipalities access to the annual accessibility grant, which contributes $10,000 to projects that are geared towards creating a more accessible community. In January of 2024, we launched our new municipal website with an accessibility checker that is integrated into the back end to ensure compliance before new content is posted, which has gone a great way to improving our web accessibility score. That was paid for in part using our 2023 accessibility grant, but it was launched in 2024, so I'm including it here. And then in 2024, the Community Services Department used the grant money to complete some much needed upgrades to the Drew Community Hall, including upgrading the existing ramp and door and the installation of an accessible door opener. So this building, although it is run and maintained by the Drew Community Board, is owned by the town of Minto, which is why it was eligible for the grant money. And then, as always, staff continue to participate in the Wellington County Joint Accessibility Advisory Committee meetings 4 times a year, and we are planning to participate in the soon-to-be-formed subcommittee to update the Wellington County Facility Accessibility Design Manual in response to the new provisions that were introduced in the Ontario Building Code last year. So I'm here if you have any questions.
Questions? The recommendation moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto hereby receives report CL 2025-004 annual accessibility update prepared by the, seems to me I read this, the Deputy Clerk, Manager, People and Culture for information
One more
purposes.
time.
Question for Quinn. Sorry. Go ahead, Councillor Dirksen.
Not really a question and a little bit off topic, to be quite frank, but if that Drew Community Center looks a little bit different than what you remember it, besides having the ramp replaced on it, you probably remember a few years ago in September when there was a huge hailstorm went through, and most places in Drew, anybody with siding, vinyl siding on the side of their buildings, they had holes in them from the hail, and there was tape over top of them for a fair length of time, actually. But anyways, the Drew community stripped all that off last year, and that's why they have new siding on there, which looks very nice with the new accessibility ramp. So shout out to the Drew community for volunteering and putting that together as well.
Thank you for bringing that up. Big shout out to the Drew community. Any other questions on the accessibility update? Go ahead, Deputy Mayor Anderson.
Not a question per se, as more comments. Having been residing in a wheelchair for 6 months, accessibility is not feasible for 95% of the buildings in town, or any other town for that matter. So I don't know, when you're meeting with Wellington County, whether they talk to people who are in wheelchairs to find out that the slope on the ramp is too great and the handlebars are too far away for you to propel yourself up unless you have an electric wheelchair. They put the openers on the far side of the door, so you have to get to the door to open it and then back out of the way of the door as it opens towards you. So if they'd like to talk to somebody who's been in a wheelchair for a few months, I'd be thrilled to be part of that design process, and I don't see how we'll meet the guidelines. All of the small towns that are built with the houses and buildings right on the street, you can't do a ramp. So how they're going to achieve those goals would be interesting, but there's many little things we could do. And they need to, I don't know who functions at that. And I'm not being critical at all because you don't realize it until you're in the chair. Everybody on that committee should spend a week in a wheelchair and find out how difficult it is to get around. Anyway, just some comments for thought.
Other comments? Pretty sure that what you just talked about there is on the DEI committee minutes for possibly something that's going to be looked into in the very near future. All in favor of the accessibility? Sorry.
That's okay.
Cut you off.
Carry on. No.
All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Quinn, don't go away. So the next item is CL 2024-005, the annual health and safety update.
Thank you.
Quinn Gurecki.
Yeah. So similarly, this is our annual report to council on our health and safety programming. In 2024, there was a 20% decrease in the number of claims that were submitted to the WSIB from the town of Minto, with a whopping 100% decrease in lost time injuries. And the primary contributors for the claims that we did submit were slips, trips, and falls. So actions were taken to address the hazards that were identified to have caused these incidents, and recommended actions were implemented to prevent these in the future. So things like shoes with better grip on the bottom, better cleaning practices, so there's less things to trip over, were implemented in the various departments. So then overall, the invoice costs related to our current WSIB firm number, which covers the entire municipality, decreased by about $14,000 from 2023. And this decrease has been contributed to the decrease in the number of lost time injury claims. But it's important to note that this is the first year since 2016 that our invoice costs have decreased, and it is very unlikely that this will continue as invoiced costs across the province are on an upward trend. But we had no recurrences and no medical aid injuries reported in 2024. We experienced 0 critical or fatal injuries and 0 visits from the ministry. So that worked in our favor. And in 2024, with the help of the WSIB Health and Safety Excellence Program, the town of Minto successfully implemented a new hearing conservation program, as well as new standard operating procedures related to risk assessments, incident investigation and analysis, and first aid. And in 2025, we are focusing on 5 new initiatives, again, with the support of the Health and Safety Excellence Program. So we'll be implementing a new SDS management software, reviewing our health and safety objectives, working on workplace health promotion and new inspection procedures, as well as a focus on psychological health and safety in the workplace. And in 2025, the Ministry of Labor, Immigration, Training, and Skills Development is continuing with its preventions work strategy in supporting its mission to ensure that every worker goes home safely at the end of the day. So the ministry will be running several workplace compliance campaigns and initiatives throughout the year, but only a select few of those have the potential to impact the town. So there are things like material handling, and again, slips, trips, and falls, viruses and working with the public, that sort of thing. As well as there were a few provisions in the newest edition of the Working for Workers Act that was passed in December that will have an impact on the town's health and safety programming. So staff are monitoring and watching out for what that will mean for us in the future. And then, of course, attached to this report are the health and safety policy statement and the workplace violence and harassment policy, which are both reviewed annually and then signed by the mayor and the CAO. And again, I'm here if you have any questions.
Quinn, so the recommendation moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Potnovitz, that Council Town Minto hereby receives report CL 2025-005, the annual health and safety update, prepared by the Deputy Clerk, Manager, People and Culture for the information purposes, and further that the Council of Town of Minto approves and adopts the health and safety policy statement and workplace violence and harassment policy as presented. Questions? Well, congratulations on your 2024, on our 2024 no claims. That's pretty amazing. Not sure if our statistics or data goes back, but have we been successful in something that perfect before in reference to health and safety?
I don't know. Going back to about 2016, we've had at least one lost time injury per year. Sometimes they're like, I fell and I need a day or two off, but they still count. So since I've been here, we haven't, but I don't know how far back I could go to look.
Well, that's great. So, and no questions, I'm gonna call the question. All in favor of that health and safety report? That's carried, thank you. And we are at announcements.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Deputy Mayor, Councillor
This would be
Dirksen,
Councillor
go ahead.
Dirksen, yep, thank you.
Start that in.
It's still winter, but there's less than 6 weeks left apparently, according to the calendar. So, there's lots of events as usual in Minto. But I don't know that people are aware that there is a community calendar in Minto. It's available on Facebook and the website and so on. And I just had a look at it, and my goodness, there's so much going on. Euchre, pepper, I don't know what pepper is. I think that's a card game. Curling, bonspiels, line dancing, quilting, sewing, catch the ace. You can buy your supper before the draw, I think, anyways. Karaoke, trivia night, the dining program that we heard about, and so on and so forth. Just tons of things to keep yourself busy and get involved in and get connected. I also want to tell you about a free farm safety pancake breakfast. And that is on March the 1st, 2025. It's a Saturday. And it starts at 9 and it wraps up at 11:45. And it's at the Alma Community Center. And I will be there as part of my responsibilities on the Wellington County Home and Farm Safety Association. We usually have a really good turnout, 2-ish to 300 people. And we feed them, and then there's different stations around that the families can go to learn about safety on the farm and in the home.
Nothing from me this week.
Sorry.
Nothing from me.
Deputy Mayor Anderson.
I don't really have anything either, but
Councillor Elliott.
A couple of things. 81's hockey team, this Friday will start their playoffs. It'll be Friday at 8:30 at the Palmerston Arena. They were in third place this year, just behind the first and second place team. They should be
just right behind.
and ahead of the fourth team. They should do very well, we hope, but you never know when it comes to hockey, as we all know. Also, on Saturday night, the Lions are hosting their annual Valentine's dance and lottery draw. And that's been our biggest fundraiser for the year, and we thank everybody that's been involved so far. It starts at 7 for the draws. Starts at 7 and then goes until the draws end. Usually about 11:30. Big prizes. That man right now is looking at one. He's so impressed.
Well, on my ticket, it says it starts at 9. Yes. That's the dance?
Yes.
So you draw my ticket at 7.
So if you bought a ticket, you're 2 people who go to the dance. Okay, that's it.
Thank you, Councillor Elliott. Councillor Potvitz. Councillor Gunson.
Since we're on the fire department topic, a lot of snow on the ground right now, big snow banks. You happen to have a fire hydrant on your property, save a lot of time if you took your snow blower or shovel and dug around it, so that the fire department doesn't have to dig around it to hook up a hose. I don't have one on my property, so I don't have to do that, but if you do, it would be welcoming from the fire department.
So what happens if I don't have a blower and I know the fire hydrant's there? Should I be calling into the town and
I would probably go to the home hardware and buy a shovel and shovel around it.
Or a shoveler.
What's your phone number?
I'm sure somebody would come out to help you.
Some of those banks are pretty big. I think the items that board brought them up in the cultural roundtable and the DEI discussion. I'm just going to go to my number 5th one, and that's I thought you were going to say it, Councillor Gunson, but our Public Works Department have certainly been busy over the last few weeks with snow. Our piles are huge. And I just want to throw out a big shout out to Public Works Department and the work that they have done. Moving snow early in the morning so people could get out. I know that there's a day or two that weren't great, but sidewalks are clear, roads are clear, and they've done a great job. So big shout out. Thank you very much. Well, go ahead. Deputy Mayor Anderson.
One night, we probably should mention the coldest night of the year event. Oh, am I stealing that?
No, I think it was announced.
Oh, okay. All right. But just to remember that it's there. They're still looking for teams and donations and so forth and so on.
Definitely donations.
Yep.
So that is definitely for homeless and, so, yeah, all right. Okay, so, resolution moved by Councillor Potnevin, second by Councillor Elliott, that the Committee of the Whole convenes into regular council. All in favor of the motion? That's carried, thank you. Resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the Council of the Town of Minto ratifies the motions made in the Committee of the Whole. All in favor of that motion? That's carried. Bylaws, we have resolution moved by Councillor Gunson, second by Councillor Zimmerman, that bylaws 2025-007 and 2025-008 be approved and read a first, second, and third time and passed in open council and sealed with the seal of the corporation. All in favor of that motion? Carried, thank you. Resolution moved by Councillor Zimmerman, seconded by Councillor Dirksen, that bylaw 2025-009 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of the town of Minto respecting a meeting held February 5th, 2025, be read a first, second, third time and passed in open council and seal the corporation. All in favor of the motion? That's carried. Thank you. We have adjournment. Moved by Councillor Zimmerman, second by Councillor Potnevitz, that the Council of Town of Minto adjourns to meet again to call the mayor. All in favor of the motion? Thank you very much.